All right, I'm going to work this one again because it was blank on the last video. So we'll try to improve that. All right, so when you go to dimension, this is a metric drawing. So when you go to dimension it, place a radius dimension, any of them, right? It's going to look something like this, which is not what we want. So when you're dimensioning, make sure that you reproduce exactly as close as possible the dimension, this dimension. So we want it to look like an arrow coming up to a shoulder and then horizontal dimension. So that's the kind of control we want when we dimension all of this, right? We don't want it to look like just anything. So I'm going to show you how to do that again because it was blank in the video. And hopefully I don't make a screen share mistake. All right, so what I do is I place one and then I tweak it. So you don't have to, change all the dimensions after you get it. So I'm going to go into that dimension style. It's right here. And here it shows you that style. So this is like a little preview. It's never your drawing. It's just their little preview drawing. But it's helpful because as you tweak things, you'll see, like if I go into the text and say, I want the text alignment to be horizontal, it'll change it to horizontal. So that's good. But it's still not looking like it does in the drawing. I don't want the text above the shoulder. So here is the text placement, and I will say centered. So that'll center it on the shoulder. So that's looking better. I just now need to get rid of this force line. So to get rid of the force line, that is under fit. And it's called this. It used to be called the force line, but it's not anymore. Draw a dimension line between extension lines. Well, there really is no extension lines in a radius dimension, but this is what does it. See this line here that's between? If you click it, that goes away and that goes away. And it starts to look exactly like we want. The comma is still not, hey, Wilson, how are things? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Trust me. You don't know how much I get that. Anyway, I'm just making a little recording on this exercise on how to get these dimensions because it was black, the one I did before. I don't know if you noticed that. Sorry about that. So hopefully this solves that problem. And then we're going to go off into the house drawing and talk about it. All right. I'm going to fix the decimal. So that's probably under units. And I'm just going to get rid of the decimals because that's the way the dimensioning is on the exercise. So I'll say okay and close. And it, boom, starts to look like what they have. It may not be the right size. I think I said 3 millimeters. So if you want to get it to the right size, I'll go back in there one more time. But we've already done this once, so I don't want to beat a dead horse too much. Text height is here, and I think I said 3 millimeters. So that's the kind of control we're looking for, right? Doesn't help you much. The overhead screen's off. Not that you were too engaged because you got other things going on, man. All right, so there we go. Now it's gonna, as I place dimensions, it's gonna be looking like it does on the exercise, which I'm just emphasizing. You want to make it exactly like you get it, like it's, so then you have control over it. And I know you have control over it. All right, let's talk about the house exercise where you had to draw your floor plan. I have started another drawing. So if you haven't noticed, if you get multiple drawings open, they're right up here, kind of along the top. I got to change the share here or we'll be blank again. Something's going on. Interesting. I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to try and figure out why it won't go to it. What's happening? All right, maybe that'll solve the problem, maybe not. Nope. All right, there's that one. And here's this one. Now I'll do the screen share and make sure we're seeing this thing. All right, now we're good. So I just started a standard drawing, not using a template yet, but we're going to head towards using a template. And for the house drawing, if you didn't change anything, AutoCAD is thinking in inches, and that's okay. Like if I'm going to draw my house, right, and I think it's like 30 feet by 20 feet, that's okay. You can start drawing that way, but try to remember when you go into AutoCAD, it's inches. It's not thinking feet. If you want it to think feet, we have to change something, okay? It's okay that you draw in inches, but it's not if you want feet, right? But we can scale it in the end. So I'm actually going to draw just a couple things and then show you how to scale it. And then I'll show you how to draw in feet. So this is 30 by 20. So I'll just keep going here. And in my head, I'm thinking feet, but AutoCAD's not. If I'm typing in 30, it's thinking inches, right? All right, and then I'll put a door in or something. No, I'll put an interior wall in, and then that'll be where I stop. And then I'll go to show you how to draw in feet. So maybe I'd go midpoint. So I'm going to get that object snap going because I love midpoint. And then I'm going to show you offset. So if I go offset, I just type it in, it pops up, right? And then I can specify the distance. Offset. Because it's going to ask you for distance first. And I'm going to say interior walls are normally 4 inches. It's okay if you don't know that. That's all right. Doesn't matter. But I'm going to make it 4 inches. Actually, I'm going to make it 2 inches and go each direction. All right. So I'm going to go 2 and 2. Now that doesn't look right. That's huge. Right. But that's because I drew it in inches. Right. This is only 30 inches. So before I do this, I need to fix this problem because it's only 30 inches. If I offset 6, which I want to do for this exterior wall, that's not right. That's a huge wall, right? So if you draw in inches and you want it in feet, we have a command called scale. So I just typed it in, S-C-A-L-E. I think it's up here. Oh, there it is, right there, scale, right? And of course it says select objects, so I'm going to put a window around it. Whenever you're done selecting objects, you have to hit enter. That means you're done selecting. Let's go to the next step. And the next step is specify the base point. So I'm going to, and that's going to be the explosion point or the implosion point, right? Because you can scale down or up either way. So I'm going to pick lower left. And you'll see as I move my mouse, it's doing the scale. But that's just a random scale. So you don't want to do it by moving your mouse, although it looks cool. Like, oh, that's cool. It's scaling it, right? You want to do it by a specific scale factor, which it's asking you for. So if we drew it in inches and we want it in feet, the scale factor is 12. So I put in 12, boom. Now it is 12 times bigger and it is 30 feet by 20 feet, okay? So now if I go to my line command from the middle point, getting that interior wall in and I go offset, and I go 2 inches, I'm going to go 2 inches each way to make it 4 inches. That looks a lot better. Looks like an interior wall. And you get rid of that middle line, and that wall is centered, right, on the whole system. So scale it. If you did it in inches, get it up to the right size. And if you did if you did wall thicknesses, then you're probably going to be a little messed up when you scale it. But if you didn't, you should be able to scale it and it'll get 12 times bigger. Now, when I do offset for the outside walls, those should be 6 inches. Again, you didn't know that, so it's okay. And you can just kind of go around and offset it. And I'm offsetting it to the inside because I want the outside to be 30 feet by 20 feet. So if you measured the inside of your space, then you would offset it out, right? Because you measured the inside or stepped it off or guessed. Any of that's just fine. But once you do that, then we typically need to go clean up the corners, and that's just trim. And remember, you can use this fence thing. It's pretty cool. So if you hit a point, drag the fence across, hit another point, and you can just keep going with the drag. It's a lot faster than actually picking spots. So I'll pick there and I'll drag all the way across. I'll pick here and drag this fence thing all the way across to here. Pick again, go all the way down through. It's just doing that trimming anything that it crosses. And then I can do this one, because when we typically draw structures or homes, we clean those corners up. So it looks like everything flows, right? Okay, so that's that. If you want to draw in feet, you have to change the unit. So where is that? That's a good question. Because I would do what? I would type unit. And I'd click units and I get the unit dialog box. So it's up here somewhere. I have no idea where though, because I don't use it. So that's not a great instruction for you, but you'll find it. But once you're in units, you see that we're in the decimal length, right? And that's just inches. It's assuming inches on everything. You can change that to architectural and you'll get feet and inches and fractions. So that's interesting. You can change it to fractional. That does not give you the feet option. So architectural, see how it gives you the apostrophe right there, that little apostrophe, it gives you feet if you want it. So I'll leave it to architectural. The precision, you can leave it fractional or you can set it to just whole inches. That's the way most homes are drawn. We're not going to give a contractor a plan that says make the house 20 feet 4 5/8 inches big. They'll shoot you if you do that. They want to know it's 20 feet 0 inches or maybe 20 feet 6 inches, but not fractions on construction. They'll literally be really pissed. I've done it. So all right, so once you say okay to that, then I can do something like I can go line from this midpoint. And I don't know what I'm drawing here. I'm just demonstrating, but you can see how it shows up 5 feet 3 inches, right? The display is actually different now. And I can literally enter 5 apostrophe and it's going to think feet. It went 5 feet. Or I can put in 6 and nothing and it's going to assume inches. Enter. And then I can go back 5 feet. So whoops, got my angle off. 5 feet. So it understands, if you're in the architectural unit, it understands the difference between feet and inches. If you put the apostrophe, you get feet. So it's super handy when drawing these kind of structures, any kind of civil engineering drawing. You definitely want to be to the architectural unit and set it so you can put in, I'm still looking for units. It's here somewhere. I could do a search, but I don't want to do that. Kind of takes the fun out of it. Anyway, that's how you can draw with those units. Okay. UNITS, units, unit dialog. What else is in here? You can change the degrees. If you wanted degrees, minutes, seconds, civil engineers use that sometimes. You could change that notation. You can go to radians. The other units here there's engineering units, which is just feet and inches. So that's nice, no fractions. Architectural has a fractional value. It looks the same because of precision. Here, I'll change the engineering fractional value would be, tenths, hundredths, thousandths of an inch. So, but you can't get feet. So there are a few different units you can use. There's scientific too. That's really for big objects. E means 10 to the 1, right? So you can go huge with scientific. All right, enough of that. I'll leave it at architectural. Did that help? Yeah. Did you scale it? Did it move some things around or did everything stay put? Yeah. So then you should be able to just offset in 6 and clean it up and done. Yeah. Putting in, I'll put in a door just to show you, lots of different ways to do this stuff. When I put in a door, so a door would go here. Most exterior doors are 3 feet. Again, I don't care what size you draw them. It's up to you. You don't know this knowledge unless you know it. So this is a 6-inch wall, and normally doors are not closer than 6 inches to the corner. So what I would do, the way I would draw a door is I offset a lot. And I would offset 12 inches. Remember, if you don't type in the apostrophe, it assumes inches. So you don't have to type the inch symbol. It'll just make that assumption. So I'll do 12 inches and then I'll take the exterior and I'll just place it. So that'll be the beginning of my door. So then I'll do offset again. So I just hit the space bar because that brings back the last command. And then I'll put in 36. Hey, there we go. And then I'll offset again. So now I just trim. Like that, and like that, and I have a door. So again, however you want. Exterior doors always swing to the inside, unless you're at Mount Hood Community College, in which they swing to the outside, which is interesting. I just noticed that. But your home, it swings in. So I wonder why. Is that like a safety? Yeah, maybe it is. Oh, so we can get out. Maybe. Oh.
And everybody was panicking and trying to push out. And so like a bunch of people on the door died, and a bunch of people inside died because they couldn't get out.
God, that's pretty funny that I've never noticed that before. I mean, I've probably noticed it, but I never really like consciously noticed it. Yeah, because your doors in your home swing in on the exterior.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, good to know. I'm going to show you a couple ways to make a door, and just a line is enough. And if you have midpoint, you can put a door in like that. But most of the time we need to know the swing of the door. That's important. So then I would just place a circle. And I would do some trimming. I'd probably put the door in just because that's the way I am. Like that, and then trim. And get it like this. And that's showing the door swing, right? And I may get rid of that and just leave it like that. And that's just so we know how much space is needed for that door to swing and that nothing gets placed there. Because the use of space is something that we think about when we draw houses and things. Usable spaces. There's going to be tables and beds and dressers and all that crap. You don't want a door swinging into a toilet or something. So you got to know your door swings. So I'm hoping you put that in there too. But that's it. Doors and walls is enough. I mean, you can have fun with it, but yeah, if it's a slider. So I'll put a slider over here. Let's make it a big one, 6-foot slider. I love sliders. I have them throughout my basement, like 3 of them. Same kind of thing. I would do offset. And I do 12 inches, I'm going to put it next to the corner. And then offset. I'd do 36 halfway. And then another 36. Gives me my 6-foot slider, and I do some trimming. Like this. And then, sliders, every architect will do it different and every designer will do it different. I keep it simple, and I would put this one in the middle, and I'd probably put this one in the middle, and then I'd offset because I'm obsessed with offset. Oops, that was dumb. Sorry. Like 1 inch. Right. And then, yeah, just simple. Keep it simple. Don't complicate it. But I'd probably do something like that. Right. Looks like a slider. And then you can open one of them up, which is nice to know, because if a contractor were to like do a takeoff, which means they're ordering stuff, they need to know which side of the slider is left opening or right opening, right? So you can do, there's a move command. Maybe you've found it, but if you haven't, it's just M for move, select the object. And then you could, to do the move, you pick a base point for the move. And I always see students picking on the object. You don't have to, you can pick anywhere. And I don't pick on the object because then your object snaps always get involved. So when I do a move, I go move, select my object, hit enter, because that means I'm done selecting. And then I pick a base point out here and you can move it, right? But out here, my object snaps are not going to get involved. So I would just go up and I'd go like, I don't know, 6 inches. And now everyone knows from the outside of the home, this is left side opening, right? And you have a good chance of getting the right slider. Not for sure. Somebody will order it wrong and the wrong damn slider will come. Happens every time, but there should be notation that says left hand also. Good question. Love it. And then it also kind of looks like a window because that's essentially how you draw windows too, right? I would come in here. Whoops. I think I missed that. Yeah. So get good with grips, because when you miss things, you can just use the grips to pull them back in place. I keep missing. Maybe I don't have like intersection going. Intersection. There we go. So like a window, I would just put in that same way, offset 5 feet, big window, like big windows. They let all your heat out, but they're cool. And then just a line from midpoint to midpoint, and then trimming. So a window, a slider should kind of look like a window, right? Because it's a big window. All you need. I'm not even sure I made you. Did I ask for windows? No. So you don't have to do it. That's an easy way to do doors. Yep. And it shows the swing of the door, right? Swings left, swings right. Swings into the house, swings out of the school. All that kind of stuff. Did I have you dimension it? I think so, yeah. So we should talk about that because that's going to be some scaling, right? And we cannot do that too much. So I'm going to dimension this part of this and set it up. So remember before you dimension, you got to figure your scale out. I don't like that. It's my OCD. I got to fix it. All right, I'm happier. I'm good with that being open. All right. So go to layout. Here's where you got to choose your paper size. So remember, AutoCAD's going to default to this A size paper. If you wanted something different, that is a right click on layout, and it is a page setup. Right click on layout, page setup. It's going to look, I'm going to modify it. Kind of looks like the printer dialog box, but it's not. It says page setup. You can define the printer here, and I'll actually do it just to show you how it changes. Whoa, where's my printer? Oh, there it is. How it changes the dotted line. So see, the dotted line went out closer to the edge because I defined the printer. So it gives me more usable space when you do that. So I say do it, right? Go into modify, change your printer. If you're at home, change to that printer. If you're here, it's this Saints Xerox thing. Hopefully it shows up. But here's where you change the paper. If you want it B size, which most civil engineering drawings, anything for the city or the county is now B size, required B size. So B size is 11 by 17. They call it tabloid here. So I'm going to change to it just to show you what happens. Okay. It literally just changes the paper size, right? It changed the paper size. I'm in paper space. So when I zoom, I can manipulate the paper. Here's the viewport. So it does not automatically change the viewport, which is dumb. AutoCAD's pretty smart. Like when you change the paper, why doesn't it change the viewport? I'm like, really? But it doesn't. So that's your job. Grab it, pull it out, get it right next to that dotted line. I'd probably zoom in so I got the most space possible. Okay, over here. All right, good enough. Now my viewport's out and big. So when I go into model space and I pan around, right, I have a lot more paper to use. But you want to set that up before you figure scale, right? You want your paper size the right thing. You want your viewport big, then figure out scale. Remember scale's here, lower right corner, right there. Only shows up if you're in model space. If you're in paper space, it doesn't show up because you can't do it there. So if you go into paper space, no scale. Model space, and I just 2-click to get into it. Scale shows up. So you can use either scale, engineering scale or the architect scale. And I'd say if you're doing this kind of drawing, more of a civil engineering drawing, you should use the architect scale or the civil scale. And that's these fractions, right? So these will take a little bit for you to get used to, but 1/8 to a foot means 1/8 of an inch, really small, to a foot, pretty big. So that's a big scale. So if I click on it, it'll go to that scale, right? It's like, oh, that's way too small on this piece of paper. So I'm like, okay, 1/8 to a foot is not going to work. Let's try 1/4, a very common scale. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to keep going and just see what's next after 1/4, 3/8. Yeah, I like it. Fills the paper. I might struggle with my dimensioning to get everything to fit, but I like things bigger than smaller, just can see it better. So I'm going to choose 3/8 to a foot. Remember, I have B size going. I don't remember what I asked you to do, A size or B size, but you'll look at that and then you'll make that change. Once you get your scale figured, 3/8 to a foot, now we can go back into model space and go to work. Set the scale, 3/8 to a foot, and then set the dimension style, not to standard, but to annotative, which means it's going to look at the scale and make an adjustment for us. So that takes all of the scaling out of our brain and just AutoCAD does it. Right? So annotative is the way to go. You might want to set up other dimensioning pieces of information. Like we probably don't want this decimal. Maybe we want fractional or architectural style, which is going to give you this, right? And maybe we want the precision to just whole inches. That kind of thing you want to set up. Once you get it here, I should look at the text height too. So this is important. The text height here will be the text height on the paper. It'll figure the scaling out for you. That's why we choose annotative. It's going to figure it out. So you literally put down what you want. So 3/16 is a pretty good size. I'm going to leave it at that. Always place a dimension and say, oh, that looks good, or oh crap, something's wrong, right? It'll show up huge and you'll go, oh, I screwed something up. And then you also want to check layout and make sure that in layout, oh, why are you not going? There we go. In layout, it shows up. So if it does, then you got things right. If it doesn't show up, then you have your scales off. They're different. That's a little big. I might go smaller than 3/16. So I'm just dinking around now. I'm going to modify the text height and say, okay, 3/16 is more than I want. I'm going to go an 1/8. Okay. Close. See, it adjusted it. Went to an 1/8. Looks kind of small there, but let's see what it looks like here. I like it. A little smaller, it's going to give you a little more space to, like, you know, jam dimensions in type of thing. Biggest dimensions go furthest away, smallest dimensions are going to be closer to the object. That's really the only rule I'm going to give you. Yeah, so notice that's 1 foot. I'm not getting any precision. Whoa, I'm not getting any precision. When you zoom, you screw up your scale, but that's just a visual thing here. Everything's still good here. Everything's still fine here. Okay. Any questions? I think that's only our second time run through on how to figure out how to put dimensions on it at a specific scale. And then obviously in here, we would build a title block in paper space. And it would say the scale of, I think we use 3/8 to a foot, right? 3/8 to a foot. Yep, that's what we used. So that would be in the title block. That might be a little big. You guys can go smaller. You'll figure it out. Questions on that project? Then I'll get you thinking about the next project, which is super fun, I think, but challenging for you. All right, I'm going to stop this recording and create a new one for the next project.